So today we're going to be looking at data collections. We'll see how that works in Python. But before we do that, we are going to have our Scratch practice, the coding for children kind of exercise. We'll do a little there, and then we go over to Google Colab to continue. So this is Scratch, and today what we're going to do is practice variables. Variables are important components of Python and most programming languages. We have a software or an app where children can learn coding by building games and animations. So we have the characters. By default, when you start Scratch, you're going to see this cat character. You can also come over here, this bottom right area, and add another character. We also have the backdrops. So at the far bottom right here, I can change the backdrop from the default white to maybe this blue sky. And coming over to the left area here, we have 9 basic groups of instructions covering different aspects. So first we have motion, looks, and sound, which relates directly to controlling the characters. And then we have events. This has to do with what happens at different times in the game or animation. We have control, how it happens, how the game runs, or how the animation runs. Under control, we have if. Here we can set conditions. We have repeat and forever. We can set loops or repeated events. We have sensing. This has to do with how the characters sense their environment and other characters, and how they also communicate with players of the game or people watching the animation. And then we have operators. This is where we bring in a bit of maths. We have the maths operators. We have random number generation. We have logical operators. We have operators on strings. And then we have variables. This is our area of concern today. And then we also have blocks. You can make your own customized blocks. And coming to the bottom left area here, we have extensions. So if you click on it, we have some extensions. For today's activity, we're going to work with this translate. The translate group has been added, and we're also going to work with this text to speech. That has also been added. So we have our instructions, we have our workspace, we have our characters, and we have the backdrop. So it's simple, and it's something that can stimulate a lot of creativity in terms of making games and animations. Now, I'm trying to explain variables. Characters and the backdrop are key objects in Scratch, but they are described by different parameters. So if we look down here, we can see they have names. So the apple has a name, apple. It also has a location specified by X and Y. Currently, X is 127 and Y is 8 for the apple. If I move the apple over here, X is now minus 181 and Y is 114. So as you move the characters to different locations on the screen, the values of X and Y change. So X and Y has to do with the position or the location of the characters. And then here we have show. This has to do with the visibility. You can decide to hide the character or make the character appear again. And then here we have size. By default, it's 100%, and I can decide to make the apple bigger, 5 times bigger. This is 500. And then we also have the direction. So I'm going to take it back or just make it 200, make it a bit smaller. And then when you click on direction, you can turn the character, you can turn it around. So we see these parameters define properties about the objects. And we can say that these constitute different variables about the objects. So when you have an object or you have a character in Scratch, you have different parameters about it. And those parameters are stored in variables. So we have a variable for the size. We have 2 variables to define the location. We have 1 variable for the direction or orientation. We have another variable to specify the visibility. We have another variable for the name. So all of these describe the characters. We also have variables that describe the backdrop, and we have variables that describe the game itself. So we can have the score, we can have the level or the stage. So we can have variables defining the game just as we have for the characters and for the backdrop. So we see that at the first layer, we can say we have characters and backdrops. We can have the game. At another layer, we can say that these entities or objects have parameters, and we can track those parameters. We can take note of them. We can change them or alter them using variables. So variables are very helpful in programming, and we usually would get to our objects, in this case, the characters or the backdrops, through the variables. So variables are like those ingredients that we use to interact with the different components or objects in a programming language. So we're going to do something quickly. We're going to use variables for that. So I'm just going to delete the apple. We don't need the apple for this activity. We'll just go with the cat. We're going to do a translator app. So as usual, we go to events and we specify what happens at the beginning. So we have the green flag instruction to specify what happens at the beginning. And at the beginning, we just want the cat to be exactly where it is. So we're going to this motion group and we go with the go to XY instruction and we specify that the cat should be at that location. And next up, let's see what we have. We have the translate group here, and we're going to take this translate instruction, and then let's go over to looks. The cat is going to be saying some things. We'll take the say instruction, and then let me go to sensing. I also need this ask instruction. So the cat is going to ask us for a word or for a sentence, and it's going to be translated to another language. So I'm going to pick this ask instruction and connect it here. So here I'm going to change what we have here by default. Instead of what's your name, I'm going to put give me something to translate to French. That is the ask instruction. The ask instruction helps the characters communicate with the players of the game. The say instruction helps the characters just say something, usually to other characters, or just to give information. But the ask is when the characters communicate with the players. And one other thing about variables to take note is that they change. So they vary. They are variables. So here we go. Give me something to translate to French. One good programming practice is to always test gradually as we build. So let's say my cat is here. I click on the green flag. It gets to that location, and then it says, or it's asking, give me something to translate in French. And I can say hello. Okay, so I type hello, and that's what the program is doing for now. So I'm going to move the cat here because somehow that ask instruction covered it. So I'm just going to move it here, and I'm going to update the X and Y. So X is now minus 56 and Y is now minus 3. So I just update that. And then wherever the cat is, when I click on the green flag, it goes and then it asks. So we're building. At this point, I want to say that programming involves logic. And logic has to do with a number of things. The first thing that we handle when we're dealing with logic is that things have to be arranged in a particular order. So it is important the order in which we are arranging our commands or instructions. We have to put what should precede another instruction exactly where it should be for the game to behave exactly as we want it to be. So if I put the ask over here, it might not give me what I want because it's going to ask before it goes to the right location. So the order is important when we're looking at logic. Another thing that is important is to take note of when there are conditions, and that is handled under the control group where we have the if statements. We also, so for if statement, we can test the condition. And sometimes the program will not just follow the order. The condition can make it altered. So when we have an if statement, we're going to specify what happens if a condition is met and what happens if it is not met. In that case, it doesn't just follow a sequential order, but it can branch into different options. And then also, we might want to repeat certain things, and then we use the repeat instruction, or we want to repeat things perpetually, we use the forever instruction. These are under the control, and then we get to see that logic also includes control flow statements, including conditional statements like the if, and then repetition statements like repeat or forever. So that's important to understand, logic in programming. So we have the order, we go to the location, and then we ask. Next up, we're going to start working with our variables. So I click on variables, and I'm going to make a variable, and I will call it translate. So the variable is translate, and I click OK. So by default, it starts showing here. I can toggle this to remove it or cause it to show. So I have the variable there, translate. So the cat asks, give me something to translate to French. And then I'm going to take this set instruction. Now, it's always important to initialize your variables or set their starting values. So I'm going to click on this arrow here and select translate, and then I'm going to remove this 0 because when translate is initialized, it shouldn't have a value. It's only going to have a value after the user has typed something in response to this ask instruction. So I put this set translate early on in the code over there. So that's initializing translate. And then I'm going to take another set instruction, and then I'm going to connect it. This time around, we are setting translate to, I'm going back to sensing, and I'm picking answer. Answer is the variable that is returned after the user has responded to the question asked by the character. So let's just test this now. I click on the green flag. We can see translate is empty, is an empty string. Give me something to translate to French. And here I'm going to type Monday, and I press enter. And now the variable translate now has a value of Monday. That is in accordance with how we have assembled these instructions. Next up, I'm going to use the say instruction. So I'm going to connect the say instruction. And by default, it says say hello for 2 seconds. I'm going to take this translate instruction, and I'm going to replace the hello with it. And then I'm also going to take the variable translate, and I'm going to put it here. So what happens is translate instruction is going to translate whatever is in the variable to, then I select the language of interest now, which is French, for 2 seconds. So here I combine 2 instructions. The say instruction, which will make the character to communicate something in the game, and then the translate instruction, which helps to translate what is in this translate variable to the language specified, which is French. So we see the connection. This translate is a variable that has its assignment here. So that's the connection. It has an assignment here, and it is assigned the value of answer in response to what the cat asked the user. So that's the connection, and here we have the initialization of translate. So this is what we have. Now we can test it. I click on the green flag, and it says, give me something to translate to French. And here I'm going to say, hello, how are you? And I press enter. And then it's connecting to the internet, and then there we have it there. Okay, so now it's just 2 seconds. Let me make it 5 seconds, and then I'm running it. Give me something to translate to French, and here I'm going to say, I have a big house and a nice car. And I click on enter, and there you go. That's the translation there in French. So you see, this is an app that children use to learn coding, but you see how they can even create a translator app from the instructions that are available, and it's so much fun. So to wrap this session up, I'm going to text to speech. Now, translate works. Let me go over to the extension. It works because it connects to Google Translate. So we can see that here. So it goes beyond the Scratch app and connects to Google Translate. And then text to speech works because there's a collaboration with Amazon Web Services. So that's just to explain a bit of what happens at the back end. So we receive the input from the user, and it goes to the internet, synchronizes with the Google Translate system, and then it gives us a feedback. That explains the delay. So finally, we want our text to speech. And for the text to speech, first we're going to set the language, and we're going to set the language to French. So select French, and I'm taking it up to the initialization stage. We're initializing that. And then we're also going to set the voice, and I'm going to go with tenor voice. I'm also going to take it up. So we have all the initialization instructions going up. And then I'm going to take this speak instruction, and I'm going to put it here. Now, what I'm going to speak is a translation. So I have to take this out, then right click and duplicate it, put it here, and then take this here. And let's see what happens. So I click on the green flag, give me something to translate to French, and let me say, okay, so I'm going with the national anthem of Nigeria, the old national anthem. So we're going to see how this can be translated to French, and we're going to hear it as well.
Levez-vous, compatriotes, l'appel du Nigeria, obéissez.
All right, so I would like a feedback. Did you hear that? I hope you heard it.
Yes, it's interesting.
Yes, it's interesting.
Okay. All right, so I'm just
nice.
going to...
It was nice.
Okay, that's good. This is the most common app that is used to teach children coding, but I saw that adults can translate into learning coding and building also their logical reasoning by using an app like this. It's fun. Like this is not just what relates to children. You can set this up and practice a language, like this. So there we go. That's our translator app. We use variables. We connected the instructions in the right order, and we didn't use any conditional instructions. That's because we didn't need to branch. We didn't need to test anything. We didn't need to repeat anything. And that's what we have here. So that's just a refresher on variables and program arrangement or instruction arrangement in Scratch. So the kids always enjoy it when they do this type of games and animation or apps, and it helps them build their programming skills.